The four Mahavakyas, or great sayings, represent the distilled essence of the Upanishads, which form the philosophical foundation of Vedanta. These sublime declarations were selected by ancient sages and spiritual scholars to encapsulate the core message of non-duality, the realization that the individual self and the universal reality are not two, but one and the same. These Mahavakyas are not mere intellectual affirmations or poetic metaphors, but powerful guiding lights that lead the seeker to the ultimate truth of existence. They have been revered for centuries in the Vedantic tradition as keys to self-realization and spiritual liberation. Each of the four Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva, presents one principal Mahavakya, forming a sacred quartet. These statements are Prajnanam Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvam Asi, I am Atma Brahma. While they each arise from different contexts and philosophical discussions, they all converge on the same non-dual understanding. They are meant to be contemplated deeply, not just as teachings, but as profound realizations to be lived and experienced. Let us begin with the Mahavakya Prajnanam Brahma, which originates from the Aitareya Upanishad of the Rig Veda. This statement translates to consciousness is Brahma. Here, the term prajnanam does not merely refer to ordinary cognition or mental awareness, but to the pure, unchanging, self-luminous consciousness that underlies all experience. It is that witnessing awareness that exists independent of the mind and senses. This Mahavakya establishes the foundation of Advaitavedanta by affirming that the ultimate reality is not a material substance, nor an object that can be perceived, but pure consciousness itself. It radically shifts the seeker's understanding from external perception to inner awareness, suggesting that the reality we are seeking outside is, in fact, the very consciousness through which we perceive. The significance of Prajnanam Brahma lies in its subtle yet powerful message, that the essence of the universe is consciousness, not inert matter. Everything in creation is a manifestation or appearance in this infinite field of awareness. Therefore, Brahma is not a distant external deity, but the very intelligence and presence at the core of every being. In the light of this Mahavakya, the practice of self-inquiry becomes a direct path. Rather than trying to grasp truth through sensory experience or logical inference, the seeker is guided inward to recognize the ever-present, unchanging nature of their own conscious self. When the intellect quiets and awareness shines unobstructed, the reality of Brahma becomes self-evident. The second Mahavakya, Aham Brahmasmi, meaning I am Brahma, emerges from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad of the Yajur Veda. This is perhaps the most direct and intimate of all Mahavakyas. It is not spoken by a teacher to a student, nor as an objective description, but as a profound realization from the perspective of the individual seeker. It is the declaration that the self, stripped of all false identities and layers of conditioning, is none other than the infinite. It is not a boast of the ego, but the dissolution of ego itself. When one sees through the illusion of separation, the I that remains is no longer limited to the body or mind, but recognized as the limitless reality, Brahma. Aham Brahmasmi is a culmination of the knowledge hinted at by the other Mahavakyas. After understanding that consciousness is Brahma and that the same Brahma dwells in the heart of all beings, the seeker finally declares, through intuitive wisdom, that their true nature is that very Brahma. This statement demands the utmost clarity and purity of mind. It is not to be repeated mechanically, but to be meditated upon until all dualistic notions melt away. The realization of this truth liberates the seeker from the cycle of birth and death, for it ends the ignorance that causes one to identify with the finite. The third Mahavakya, Tattvam Asi, comes from Chandogya Upanishad of the Sama Veda. It means, I am that. It is presented in the form of a dialogue between the sage Uddalaka and his son Svetaketu, who is being instructed on the nature of the self. The sage points to the various elements in the world and shows how they all arise from one single source. Then, he concludes with the teaching, Tat Tvam Asi, I am that. It is a statement of identity between the individual and the absolute. Here, Tat refers to Brahma, the all-pervading reality, while Tvam refers to the self of the student. This Mahavakya carries profound pedagogical and philosophical significance. It forms a bridge between the personal and the cosmic. In a sense, it is a pointer not to be taken literally at first, but to be assimilated over time through deep reflection. The student must gradually peel away all false identifications with body, mind, social roles, and experiences until only the pure self remains. When that self is seen as identical with Brahma, the duality of subject and object dissolves. Tat Tvam Asi acts as a mantra for this transcendental journey. Unlike Aham Brahmasmi, which is a self-realized affirmation, Tat Tvam Asi is a teacher's instruction, a profound reminder that the seeker is already the sought. The fourth and final Mahavakya, I am Atma Brahma, is found in the Mandukya Upanishad of the Atharva Veda. It translates to this self is Brahma. Here, I am means this, Atma means self, and Brahma again refers to the infinite reality. This Mahavakya reiterates the central teaching of Advaitavedanta, that the self which we directly experience, the pure consciousness behind all thoughts and perceptions, is not different from the supreme reality that underlies the universe. It encourages the seeker to look within and recognize the infinite in the finite. The uniqueness of this Mahavakya lies in its immediacy. It does not point to a distant truth to be attained someday. It reveals the truth of what is already here and now. The this in I am Atma refers to the innermost awareness that is present in every experience. It is not something to be discovered anew, but something to be remembered, or rather unveiled. By meditating on this Mahavakya, the aspirant is led to a direct perception of the non-dual self. In the Mandukya Upanishad, this statement is followed by a detailed analysis of the states of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, culminating in the recognition of Turiya, the fourth, silent witness state. This fourth state, beyond the changing states of mind, is the true self, Brahma itself. Taken together, the four Mahavakyas form a complete and integrated path to self-realization. They begin with a philosophical assertion of the nature of reality, proceed through a teacher's instruction, culminate in a direct realization, and are finally stabilized through ongoing awareness. They are not meant to be isolated or intellectualized, but to be lived. Advaitavedanta teaches that liberation is not a future event, but the uncovering of what is already true. These Mahavakyas are mirrors held up to the soul, showing the seeker their real face, timeless, infinite, ever free. In the traditional Vedantic method, a student is guided by a qualified guru who helps in understanding and internalizing these statements through a three-step process. Shravan, which means listening, Manana, which means reflection, and Nididhyasana, which means deep meditation. First, the Mahavakyas are heard and understood through study and discussion. Next, they are reflected upon until doubts are resolved. Finally, the truths are meditated upon until they become direct experiential knowledge. It is only through this process that the Mahavakyas truly fulfill their purpose, not to be admired from a distance but to awaken the highest knowledge within. In daily life, the significance of these teachings lies in their power to dissolve fear, sorrow, and ignorance. When one recognizes the unity of all beings in Brahma, compassion naturally arises. There is no other, no separation, and no conflict. Even in the midst of worldly duties, the understanding of the self as Brahma brings deep peace, strength, and detachment. It allows the seeker to live in the world without being bound by it, to act without ego, love without attachment, and serve without desire. Ultimately, the Mahavakyas are declarations of freedom. They reveal that the self is not limited by time, space, or causality. It was never born and will never die. It is the silent witness of all thoughts, the screen upon which the play of life appears. Recognizing this transforms existence from a struggle for meaning into a celebration of truth. In the light of the Mahavakyas, life becomes sacred, each moment an expression of the infinite. In conclusion, the four Mahavakyas are timeless treasures of spiritual wisdom. They distill the vast expanse of Vedantic philosophy into compact, powerful declarations of truth. They invite the seeker to look within, to inquire, to meditate, and ultimately to realize the non-dual reality that lies at the heart of all experience. Through them, the individual discovers that they are not a mere body or mind, but the very essence of existence itself. To understand and live the Mahavakyas is to be free.